Hey everyone, we're going to put together today a backflip. I got a new 2025 Ridgeline. We're going to put this backflip truck bed cover on the truck. Immediately when you open the box, it says locate the side rails and hardware box and confirm the rails match your bed length. Got the instructions, and here are the two rails. I'm guessing this is probably some hardware right down there. So we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, we needed scissors, alcohol, 1/2-inch wrench, Phillips screwdriver, drill bit and drive, T50 torque drive, hex wrench. Important to note that it needs to be clean. Then here's everything there in the hardware box. So we'll go over to step one. Remove the two upper tie-down hooks using a T50 Torx, and tie-down hooks for later installation. So we'll go ahead and remove these. It says there's two of them. So when I look at these, this one's in the back of the truck, this one's in the front, you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove them all. I can reinstall them later if I'd like. It's basically here, there, and there. Okay, so first step was to take off the top tie downs. Two on each side, one here, one in the back, one in the back there, one in the back here. I used a handheld wrench, and anytime you're doing something with your truck, smart to take your time and do it right. Open up everything out of the boxes, and you'll see there are two rails for each side. The passenger side over here, you'll see that the notch of this main rail where you'll put hardware in, and that hardware will clamp down on the two tie downs that we just removed. Notch in goes towards the tailgate, and then on the additional rail here, you're going to want this lever arm to be pointing towards you. So this will be the passenger side, and then working now on the driver's side. On the rail with the notch, where the notch goes towards the tailgate, you will see there is a puzzle, sort of, where the clamps will fit. And so we're going to put two on each side of these clamps, and you can see a perfect little notch on how it will fit. And down each side in the back will go here so we can secure the rail to the truck. And then on the front side we'll attach with this. So again, you know, take your time. We're going to put two on each side and utilize these to secure the clamps. And I'm not going to tie anything down tightly. I'm going to go ahead and do it loosely. And just to confirm here, when you open your instructions, this one will say important. Install these rails first. You can sort of see the 4 locations where I removed the clamps. I did that by hand. And an overview of the rails. And clearly it states notch is at the tailgate end. And you can sort of see here they're showing 2 screws going through the clamps to clamp against the bracket for the back and the bracket for the front of the truck. On the back side, it's just going to walk us through sliding the brackets in, securing them at the back and at the front, and then finally securing them to the truck itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then talk about how it went. One quick note while installing these: the elongated holes connect to the silver bracket, and envision that as this bracket goes on, the bracket itself will need to go backwards towards the truck to be secured against the holes that we just removed that were holding the wire tie downs, or the ratchet tie downs. And then on the front side, on the passenger side of the truck, we'll need the bracket that is shaped this way so that it can be connected and ensure that it connects to the holes we already removed. It's the exact opposite on the driver's side. All right, so now I have hand tightened each of the 4 secure points here to get the metal rail against the truck itself. And you can see each area I hand tightened first, ensured that everything was lined up correctly before then tightening with the hand tools there. I did not use a power tool. So each of the 4 sides is completely secure. Again, take your time. This is the foundation of the rail and ensures that everything else will hopefully go smooth. In here, looking at the corollary instructions now, you can see I skipped a step. After removal of the tie-down hooks, this version of the back flip is saying that I can now go ahead and reinstall. So I'm going to go undo the Torx screws and re-put in my tie-downs. Alright, so just wanted to update what we've done so far. So yesterday, a little hard. It was the last day I heard the hurricane that came through. So I waited till today and I wanted to review what we have done. So this is a foundational rail. There are 2 of them in the box. You can tell that this is a driver's side because the notch goes towards the tailgate to cover here. This rail on the back side has a groove. In that groove you have 2 metal silver pieces that create a vise, a clamp, and that clamp is used to secure the foundational rail to the bed through the existing structure of the tie down. So this tie down you have to remove, put the new clamp in, secure it, and screw everything back in with the T50 Torx nuts. So this is on, and it gets pushed up to the front as far as you can push it up. So it happens on both sides. Again, this is the vise up here. This mount a little different because this is a horizontal mount versus what's here, which is vertical. So if you flip it, the same thing happens on this side. What we'll do now is there are additional rails, and those rails are what the actual folding tonneau cover will connect to, and so we'll put those on, and those are secured with a clamp. And so with that clamp, there's 3 of them. One goes up front, one goes towards the middle, and one goes towards the back. So we'll go ahead and get started on that next. Okay, so next we're going to put the safety plugs on the end of the rails here, the foundational rails. They go in this manner into the actual guides within the rail, and you can sort of see how they want them placed. So on the right side, smooth end would be facing inward. After that, there is a flex tape here. We'll go ahead and put that on the back of the bed. This goes between the cab and where we're going to put our tonneau cover. I believe this helps with the weather seal. So we want to make sure we get that right. We'll just trim it down to size and put it on. Okay, with my helper, we've got our 2 ends put on both sides. Now up front we have some weather seal. I've laid it out. You can sort of see I want it to go from this crack over to the other crack. So we'll trim that with a pair of scissors and then place it down. We'll place it towards the cab end, or opposite of the cab end. Okay, we have the safety ends put on, the weather seal. These drain tubes go on the end of the side rails, and you can tell it's on the end here towards the cab. Back there is a foam protector on each of those drain tubes. I'm not going to put those on right now. I'm going to wait till the end to do that, only because the last time I did this I ended up taking the drain tubes off the truck entirely. Next we're going to place a side rail on and connect it with 3 clamps on each side. Here's where the directions are really bad. You can tell going into the truck, the 1/2-inch bolt faces towards the storage area of the bed, and it looks as if on this end where the bolt head is higher than on the back end, which appears to be this way. If you zoom in real close on these, you can also see that bolt end is facing inward, which from a human factor's perspective makes sense. You just got to make sure that that lines up right. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down, put 3 on, and we'll see how I can get it to line up. As you put these on, have your helper push down on the side rail so that it remains flush with the foundational rail. And then each of these, on the front side, there's a lip on the side rail. I'm trying to catch the upper end of the clamp on the top of that lip, and then on the back end, just pushing it up. Right now everything I just have hand tightened. I'll go back through and tighten, but be sure not to over tighten these things. I've read some places that they'll break, so we'll go ahead and finish putting these on. All right, we used a 1/2 inch wrench socket just to hand tighten each of the clamps, ensuring that the top of the lip remains flush with the foundational rail. Additionally, I went ahead and put the drain tubes in. There are weep holes here in the bed, so if we do get some condensation, it'll come out of the back. Here in Florida, that's definitely going to happen. So I tried to evenly space the clamps so that we get a secure fit. We'll go ahead and look now at our next step, which is adding retainer clamps onto the cover and then putting the buckle ends on the folding tonneau cover. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, these slide on relatively easy. Loosen it. You can see the head of the bolt that goes there, and you can see it's got 2 sides. Doesn't really matter which side you put it on, you can manipulate it once it's down there under the bed. Additionally, there are 2 holes here I had to take tape off of. These are for the straps if you have the tonneau cover unfolded, and that device to strap it in will go on the other side. This will be the upward facing side that faces the world. All right, so here you have 2 female screws and 2 male screws. You're supposed to have a gasket. Mine did not come with a gasket, but this gets inserted on the opposite side of the clamp here. This will be upward facing so that you can strap your tonneau cover down with. I'm going to go ahead and install this. The female screws go on through the bottom side, this side, and the male screws through the top, but I do need that gasket, so I'm going to have to reach out to the company to have them send me that. You know it's taking too long when your helper falls asleep. But I have the attachments secured, and so they'll face towards the rear of the truck as you're going to plug something in here. And I now have the clamp secured on the bottom. So the next step will be to set the cover in a folded position on side rails A and B towards the cab of the truck and confirm the cover is evenly spaced between the rails, and then tighten the retainer clamps. And so you can see the little notch in the retainer clamp will go onto the side rail by turning them clockwise until the lock washer is secure. So we'll go ahead and do that. Hopefully my helper wakes up for that part. All right, so I put it on there. I haven't secured anything, but I just wanted to show, right? This weather stripping goes up over the foam we laid down. And then it's always good to do a fit check to see where this thing's going to end up. And so it'll end up right at the tailgate. Let's put the tailgate up and see what it looks like. And see if we want to move it back or up a little bit more. Go ahead and shut the tailgate. And so you can see at this rate we would have a little bit of a gap here. So we'll want to move it back just a little bit, make sure it's flush, then we'll get underneath and secure it. But always do a fit check before you go ahead and secure this thing down. Okay, so I'm underneath the truck, and you can see I've just hand tightened this down. There is a notch right here that will connect to the side rail. This is for when your tonneau cover is fully up. The lever arm will be secured through this contraption here. It moves up and down just to ensure that you're not flying around on the interstate. The other thing I noticed, my back clamp there
I probably need to move it more towards the rear of the bed to provide some structural support as I lock this thing down. So I'll go ahead and fix that a little bit. But again, those just go in that notch and move around anyway. So I'll secure the other side, move the clamp a little bit, and then we'll go see what's next.
Okay, everything's secured there. As you go up to this, as you see, your tonneau cover is going to fold. There will be friction points where it hits your cab. They provided these rubber mounts, so I'm going to go ahead and mark where it'll hit and secure these rubber mounts while I'm up here in the back of the truck. Alright, so for my final fit test, it was not fitting, so I had to, when do some adjustments here. The manual calls out there is a small tab here. I use a flathead screwdriver to pry that tab. This comes off. Your slams here and here can be loosened. So I'll go ahead and loosen these and try to get a few little bit of clearance here. So loosen these, move this back a little bit, see what happens. Alright, so bad news. I was unable to get the tonneau cover to lock on both sides. I was over to where the locking mechanism wouldn't penetrate below this lip. When I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this gap here and this gap here probably shouldn't be here. So I'm going to take the side rails off and re-examine the foundational rails to see if I put them on correctly. I just want to show you here, I completely took the side rail off, loosened everything, and as I retightened, I utilized the metal secure clamps here that connect to the tie downs to push against and ensure that I could squeeze as much as I could. Now we're closer here, we've minimized the gap, but I just want to show you on this other side that I haven't touched yet. There is still quite a gap, so we'll go ahead and hit this side and see what happens. Okay, so now you can see we've really minimized that gap on both sides. Here's the other side. Much less than what it was. We'll see if that makes a difference. So I will re-clamp the side rails. Very important to get those side rails up on the lip on the clamp, and then I'll do another fit check. We'll see what happens. If you're like me and your helper got bored when you're putting these side rails up, you can use the lever arm for leverage as you put it up. So you can see I got my clamps ready, so I'll lay down under the bed to ensure that the top lip enables against the side rail to ensure that I have friction between the two rails. Because the tonneau cover, as it's heavy and lays down, it's going to bend these flimsy rails a little bit as they are. Definitely could use some thicker metal here coming off the side of the bed to secure that tonneau cover, but we'll see what we can do with what we have. Alright, so second time, you can see here on the right side, definitely engaging, and maybe hard to tell in the video, but there is force behind this lip. I can't push it down. On the left side, that lip is at an angle and it's not engaging. So there has to be some integrity issue here where it needs to be up like this. My guess is it's going to have to do with this clamp. So I'm going to try to adjust via just manipulating this area here. And if that doesn't work, I'll take it all off again. Again, I'm looking for longevity, so I want it done right versus done and done quickly. For the current conclusion of the video here, you can see that the truck mount, it's a beautiful tonneau cover. On the left side, it is not latching. On the right side, we have a good latch. So I'm able to have integrity with the latch. If I lock my tailgate, no one can get into my truck. They'd have to pry real hard. And if they're prying real hard, they're getting in anyway. But I did pay a lot of money for this tonneau cover and I want it to work correctly. So for now, I'll conclude my video, but I am going to email the company and see what happens. There is, you know, some advice I have when you're doing this. Your first steps for the foundational rail are critical. Use a flathead screwdriver and get leverage on the clamps around the T50 Torx screws. There's 4 total mounts there, and make sure that this foundational rail is as flat as can possibly be. When you're putting on the support rail that has the lever arm, ensure that your clamps are up into the grooves and you're making that as flat as possible too. The weight of the tonneau cover, regardless, is going to push on those side support rails. So just the way that this was designed, it's going to cause some stress there. So the more secure you can get it through the mount system, the better. And then finally, when you do put your tonneau cover on, put it on, spread it out, make sure it's flush, move it around a little bit before you secure it with the 2 under rail screw mounts. And so those are very easy to manipulate. Even now I could get under there, loosen them up and move it around if I wanted to. But the purpose of this for the Ridgeline is, 1, when my gate's closed, I can lock it up, nobody can get in, unlike a soft cover. 2, this tonneau cover will fold up completely, so I still maintain the full use of the bed of my truck, which is a big selling point here. So take your time, install it right, and you know, get it to the point to where you're happy with it with your truck. It could be that, you know, the 25s are relatively new. I do have a 2025 Ridgeline, and we're off by, you know, a centimeter here. So this could be me as an installer. It could have been I had a bad manufactured piece. Really don't know, right? I'll give the company the benefit and blame it on myself. But hope you enjoyed my video. Look forward to your comments, and I'd love to see some pictures on the install jobs that you guys do out there. Enjoy.